Hello, class. I'm doing a screen recording of my presentation. I cannot be with y'all this evening because I am in Denver doing a conference presentation at the College English Association. Um, However, I'm here in good spirits, and of course, you can hear my voice. And I'm presenting on comics and digital humanities. By me, of course, Christopher Wydler. Just to let y'all know that I'll be guiding y'all through a Prezi and the actual comics themselves on the websites that they can be found. The links to the projects will be available in my thread on eCollege, and I'm hoping to provide chapter times for each of these things that I'm going to show you on YouTube. And of course, links to all these projects will be put them available on eCollege as well, if I have not already said that. Anyway, the projects I did are Materiality Comics by Aaron Jacob Cashin, as well as Multimodal Authoring and Authority in Educational Comics by Aaron Scott Humphrey, and Graphic Images of YHWH, Exploring and Exploding the Bounds of Sexual Objectification by B.J. Parker. All of these projects, by the way, can be found in a special issue on Digital Humanities Quarterly. Issue 9, Volume 4, titled Comics as Scholarship, edited by Roger Whitson and Anastasia Salter. As y'all probably remember, the first project presentation that I did was on Materiality Comics. I want to stick with the comic book theme in terms of digital humanities by Aaron Cashin. As y'all probably remember, Materiality Comic uses the construction of digital comics to conduct practice-based digital research in comic book scholarship. This project is grounded in education and research, kind of a tool to show how the comic book, the aesthetic, can not only be used to present comic book scholarship, thus making it multimodal, but also how the how materiality functions in terms of rhetoric. This next project, Multimodal Authoring and the Authority in Educational Comics, introducing Dirda and Folcat for Beginners by Aaron Scott Humphrey. Kind of functions in the same way as Materiality Comics, but it's a little different, especially in form. Materiality Comics uses bit strips and another comic book software to create the comic. On the other hand, these next two projects, Multimodal Authoring and Authority included, they hand draw, write, and ink the comic and then scan them in. This project attempts to analyze scholarship in a different way. In particular, Multimodal Authoring and Authority uses the comic aesthetic to synthesize the philosophical discussions of Folcat and Dirda. It goes a step further by showing how prose can be inadequate somewhat to really giving students rhetorical power, and this kind of acts as a stepping stone to invent things differently as opposed to just constructing arguments in prose. This project, Graphic Images of YHWH, is one of my favorites because I met B.J. Parker at two conferences. The first a couple years ago when I was an undergraduate and he was starting his PhD, and he's a graduate. He got his PhD from Baylor University, I believe, in biblical studies, and I met him last year again when this project was actually in the beginning stages. That being said, Ezekiel 16 is a unique narrative with the entirety of Ezekiel considering its grotesque depiction of sexual objectification, despite being clear what sexual objectification actually is, according to Parker. The end result is an interpretation of Ezekiel 16 in sequential art that includes historical, artistic, and scholarly annotations within that graphic narrative. Now, I'm going to bear with me. I'm going to take you to what these look like. This is an example of some pages within Materiality Comics. Again, as you can see here, Materiality Comics, the abstract, all the other issues of Digital Humanities Quarterly can be found over there. They're all accessible by everybody. Also, all these comics can be downloaded in PDF or CBC for easy viewing on your phone or iPad or whatever, and they all also have a creator statement with the works cited page and all that good stuff. As stressed in Materiality Comics in its title and in its creator statement, it's really all about how the physical characteristics function in terms of rhetoric, filament of piece. And it's really awesome how he builds on the scholarship of materiality to kind of continue its way and how it functions in comics and the rhetorical process in general. Now, there it goes. Multimodal authoring and authority. This has been happening to me whenever I log into this. Multimodal authoring and authority in educational comics. Just like the last one you can saw. PRAC's a little slow while this is doing a screen recording, but everything's inked by hand. Same principle applies though, using comics as scholarship. Cool stuff. Graphic images of YHWH. Everything's hand drawn. Let me get to that title page. Boom. In the book of Ezekiel, we read of a Judean, a priest, a son of Babuzi, a husband, and an exile. Of course, there's a citation there where that introduction comes from. Unlike the, well, you can tell that B.J. Parker is a fairly impressive artist compared to the other two. Not to insult their projects by any means, but and visually, it's definitely more thumb readable. And again, it interprets the gender role in this part of Ezekiel 16. Alright, let's go back to this Prezi in terms of time's sake. As noted, the differences between these projects, Materiality Comics is teacher-based. It informs readers how to use comic books to discuss comic book scholarship and how to engage in similar practices in the classroom. Multimodal authoring and authority in educational comics presents how all discourse uses modalities and how graphic art can be more beneficial than prose while using Foucault and Derrida as an example. Graphic images of YHWH uses the graphic art medium to interpret a prose biblical narrative, thus utilizing art as scholarship. Commonalities between here, as said here, is that the overlying similarity between each of these projects is the use of the comic book medium to present scholarship. Multimodal authoring and then authority uses the graphic narrative to simplify complex ideas. Graphic images engages with sequential art to dissect and interpret, while Materiality Comics is a teacher-based modal to further the use of graphic narratives as instructional tools. Now, the big part, towards a grant. After examining these projects and completing this environmental scan, an idea occurred to me. Since in our own first year writing program, which I do teach in, and I know quite a few of y'all did, or am, the literacy narrative seems to be a staple, yet we're also trying to attempt to teach first year composition students how to compose in other mediums not invented yet. I think composing a literacy narrative as a comic would be a step in that direction and also be a fun and smart move. Specifically, I aim to request funds for a digital archiving system that could display a range of digital literacy comics online. And as it says here, I'll grant it towards an initiative that would produce a web archival of student graphic narratives of literacy, the narratives for that first year writing program. That's all I have for y'all. Thank you very much. Again, sorry I can't be with y'all. I got some other things going on up here in Denver. Hope y'all have an awesome class, and I will see y'all when we reconvene. Thank you very much. Again, this is my presentation, Comics and Digital Humanities.